gonna use.
And we are live, so I'm gonna roll the intro. One of these weeks we will start on time. I promise.
No.
Last week it was William's fault. This week it's my fault. At some point we're gonna get this into a professional looking show. Anyways, let me kick it off. From the keyboard to the boardroom, this is the Business of Esports post podcast, after show, live stream, whatever you want to call it. My name is Paul Dawalibi. I'm joined today by my friend and co-host William Collis and Lindsay Poss. For those of you who are new to the live stream, what we do here is we cover the stuff that doesn't make it on the podcast, basically. So some of the more lighthearted things, some of the more fun things. We try and stick to topics that maybe wouldn't make it into the main podcast, but still deserve discussion.
Yeah,
and oftentimes we try and have more fun with it. What were you going to say, William?
No, I was just agreeing.
You've got a background up. There must be a reason for this.
I don't know, Paul. I don't know.
Usually it's my handsome face back there. I don't know.
It's not like it's, launch day for... Actually, launch day was yesterday.
My mom's going to be disappointed.
It's not launch day.
Yeah. The miracle is I didn't share this background with all of you, but yeah, we got the Book of Esports out. It's on Amazon. You can actually buy it. It will ship. People get copies.
That means no more pre-order.
No.
The book is real. It isn't an elaborate hoax for you to collect pre-order dollars.
Full credit to me if I had pulled that off, because that would have been pretty slick.
That would have. Book 2 will just be some elaborate hoax.
Yeah, book 2 should just be like, it should have everything in it. We should be like, it has the lottery numbers for 2023 May 1st. Like,
there you go.
You guys can't get it wrong. You can't get it wrong. Yeah.
No, so congratulations from all of us.
Thank you so much.
So exciting.
It's
Lindsay,
a big deal.
Did you get a copy of the book yet, or not yet?
I did. I actually got the Kindle copy, so I got it today, and then I have a physical copy coming. Oh, bye, William.
I don't know, William. That's it. He was just here.
Just to promote the book. Yeah. What a chump.
He was here just to promo your book, just to shill your book, and then you're like, I'm out of here. I got better things to do.
I don't know what happened. Like, it just disconnected me. It's the power of live streaming. Wait, so you got the Kindle copy? Did you read the whole thing?
In one day?
The whole thing. I read the intro.
I would expect nothing less. If somebody handed you the truth in a convenient digital format, I would expect. This is one of those things where you call up your husband to be, and you're like, I'm so sorry, I can't make the wedding. I have to read this.
Yes,
that's the level of quality. This is literally there's somebody down the street with a $3 million check, and you're like, I will be there as soon as I get past 176 and read every single acknowledgement, because it is that good.
Right. I believe you. I'll take your word for it.
I don't know. I had fun with it.
I have the digital copy, and I have a physical one coming as well. So
you're like the ideal. You're like the ideal shopper for this.
Guys, I'm just trying to figure out. Sorry to cut you off. I know there's a bunch of people watching because I can see viewers, but I don't know if the comments are not working.
It's interesting because
I don't know if anyone, because I'm not seeing any comments, so I don't know if anyone watching can just want to test it here for me.
Oh no, we got it. We got a comment.
Weird. I am not seeing any of the comments.
I just saw Adam. Adam came in. Hi, Adam. By the way, it's always a pleasure to see you in the live stream. We have fun. I have fun. So.
I have to see one from Cam. Yeah. So hi, Cam.
Oh, there we go. My gosh, it's everyone. Adam, Martin, Cam.
Yeah.
Now, my name is Greg. Greg, I know you're there. Greg, please. Yeah. For me.
I don't see any of the comments, so I'm actually going to have to.
Oh, now you're going to be the chump and leave.
Oh, yeah. First, he's late to the live stream. Then he can't read the comments.
It's not my fault this technology's all broken.
Oh,
No, sorry guys, because I want to be able to. Actually, I
to
don't know.
react. Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know if me. Let me try and remove myself and then come back in. Give me a second.
sounds good. Let's see if this actually. Lindsay, now that he's gone, we can quickly make your box bigger so he doesn't fit in. Like, let's stretch our camera so there's no space for Paul.
I don't have it. Since he
What?
created, but he has all the power since he created this.
I know, we're at his mercy.
Yeah.
He like any click, anything. Oh no, he's back.
Okay, now I can see comments. There we go. Now I can see. There you go. Martin's here. Adam's here. All right, now I can see it.
Yeah.
Martin says, "Congrats on the book launch. Looking forward to it arriving in Australia in 3 weeks."
That's a patient customer.
Yeah. If it doesn't get eaten by the giant spiders first, right?
Yeah, you're never getting a book.
Yeah.
They just say they ship them out to Australia, but really, you put them in a box and kick it into the ocean and hope it gets there.
That's exactly right. Actually, speaking of Australia, I just got featured in a New Zealand magazine, actually, which was sort of my great connection to the Southern Hemisphere.
William is huge in New Zealand. Huge.
It's me and Gabe Newell, guys. I'm telling you right now.
He goes down to New Zealand and it's like, Madonna showed up.
They literally, the first thing they say is, "Can we get you a flat white?" The second thing they say is, "Do you need any batteries?"
Isn't flat white a drink at Starbucks?
Oh, this is okay. Whoa. There is a bus. Back up off of it. A flat white is an espresso drink that's like crazy popular in New Zealand and Australia, right? Somebody from New Zealand and Australia in the chat back me up. And I think Australians would say it's Australian and New Zealanders would say it's from New Zealand. And the same thing for this is Vegemite. I bet you if there's any Australians watching, they will say Vegemite is from Australia, whereas every single New Zealander will say Vegemite is from New Zealand. So that's everything you need to know about visiting the Southern Hemisphere, Lord of the Rings, Peter Jackson. There you go.
I'm telling you, William is huge in New Zealand. He's got a rabid following down there. They mob him when he gets to the airport.
No. For people who don't know, I can poke fun because my mom's from New Zealand. So I've actually spent like a fair bit of time down there. And I love New Zealand. And I love Australia, by the way, too. I kid because I love.
Okay, guys, now that we got this show on track,
Yeah.
let's talk some esports. How about a little preview of Vegemite is ours, Pavlova is ours. So, and this is from Martin, who's Australian, William. So clearly your knowledge of this part of the world.
That's exactly right. I'm walled off. Vegemite is ours. You guys know what pavlova is? It's a cake. It's a delicious type of cake. Yeah. Okay, just making sure.
I know what Vegemite is too. I just don't know what a flat white is.
Flat white is a drink at Starbucks. Whatever William tells you.
Yeah.
So here's a preview of the podcast this week. We had a pretty cool guest, David Chen, who's an investor in the space. He's a part owner in FaZe Clan. So we talked a bit about FaZe Clan. But he also has ties into Asia, spent a lot of time doing business in Asia. So we tried to do an Asia/China focused episode. We talked about the Tencent deal where they're trying to combine Huya and Douyu into one entity, like create this $10 billion mega streaming platform, basically. We talked about Bilibili securing the rights to League of Legends competitions in China. And we talked about a gaming expo that just happened in person in China. So they had like a PAX style or CES style gaming expo in China, which I don't think we're having here anytime soon, but they did it.
By the way, since it's visual and we couldn't talk about it in the podcast, can you go back to the Bilibili story?
Yes.
I love the guts here in their promotional image that they made Bilibili so much more important than League of Legends Worlds. Like, I fully respect them here 100% for thinking the most important thing would be superimposing their logo over everything. Like, good on them.
Like it's graffitied over too. It's like no respect.
Well, I actually kind of not kidding. I kind of think it's cool. Like, I'm actually being serious. I kind of think it's a cool effect that they did for it. Like,
it looks like Suicide Squad. promotion.
It looks like what? Lindsay?
Suicide Squad.
Yeah, a little bit. The colors. It's the colors and the kind of the dripping effect. I thought you meant this image, William, that you were going to comment on, because there's definitely not 6 feet going on here.
No, that's exactly right.
This is not properly socially distant.
Yeah, they don't have to do that since they don't have any cases.
They're all wearing masks anyways.
Smart.
And they had the whole thing too, cosplayers and everything. I'm kind of a little jealous.
So jealous.
The last time the three of us were in the same room was at PAX.
Yeah,
that's true. Yeah, that is true. Oh my God, that's crazy.
6 months ago.
Yeah.
Which is
that breaks my heart. That breaks my heart.
And it feels like forever ago. Literally feels like forever ago.
It's another world, guys. We might, if this is it, this is like eventually we're just going to get sealed in our houses and apartments, and everything will be through DoorDash and Amazon. And that's, as far as we know, the simulation has begun, you know? Like,
so if anyone who's watching wants to talk about those 3 things, that is what we covered on the podcast. Happy to talk about it at the end of the live stream or now, whatever you guys want. If not, we're going to jump into some stuff that didn't make it on, but I think is just as interesting. Actually, maybe even more interesting. William and I have started getting into the habit of keeping all the good stuff for the live stream because we have more fun with you guys.
It's actually a problem. Paul and I need to figure out what to do because I enjoy the live stream more than the podcast right now, and I find myself saving stories. And it's like they are differentiated formats, but it's just fun when you can joke around. You know, I don't know. Like maybe we need to launch like the unprofessional business of esports. Maybe that should be our like trade logo.
An entirely different business.
Yeah,
because you already proposed the idea of launching Business of Esports after dark.
Yeah,
so every couple weeks you just find a new way to get your idea.
Trying to get a PG-13 podcast out there. Like,
well, yeah, this is a totally side story, but maybe 40 episodes ago, I don't know the exact number. Yeah. William and I did an episode of the podcast where, you know, I thought cleverly I would put a little bit of clickbait in the title, even though what is it, William?
No, Paul, have you not learned the lesson? Like,
no, I'm not going to say the name.
This is what got us banned last time.
Like, I remember this. Yeah.
So I put a website which many, I'm sure, here frequent, and it's a site of an adult nature, and I put that name of that site in the title of the podcast episode because we briefly talked about it in the context of internet traffic and things like that. And I thought that clickbait title would get a lot of viewers on the podcast. As it turns out, the podcast episode, when I uploaded it, didn't appear on our feed, like not until 2 weeks later. And people were going, what's going on? Where's this episode? I thought your episode comes out every Thursday. And the reality, what happened was Apple, Google, all these companies, I guess they have some automated algorithm that saw that name in the title and withheld it. And so, you know, but they ended up releasing it because we didn't talk about anything that was inappropriate, but that name was in the title and that was enough to delay it. As it turns out, if you look at search terms that direct traffic to our website, the name of that website is the 3rd highest referrer of traffic to the businessofesports.com, which means someone searching for this adult website happening on the Business of Esports and deciding to go to the Business of Esports instead. So
this is now the apocryphal lore of the podcast that we produced here, but we have good times. We have good times here. I'm excited.
Let's get into some topics. Let's do it. Cam says, so is the live stream fun? Confirmed 2 streams a week. Cam, I wouldn't be surprised if by this time next year we were doing like 5 streams a week or something. Yeah, like something crazy like that.
All of our show ideas came to fruition.
Mm-hmm. There could be quite a lot. We'll see. We'll see.
Let's talk about Spider-Man, guys. Let's talk about Spider-Man. Okay. This was an article from The Verge, and the headline is Square Enix's Avengers game is getting a PlayStation exclusive Spider-Man character, and that sucks.
By the way, Verge, way to hold that journalistic integrity all the way through the byline.
Well, we know this is what The Verge is known for, journalistic integrity, especially when it comes to PC building tips and tricks. But basically, I'll paraphrase Eric. I'm not going to read it for you guys. But the article basically is saying that the new Avengers game, if you buy it on PlayStation, on the new PlayStation, you will get a playable Spider-Man character. And if you buy it on Xbox, you will not get to play as Spider-Man, basically, because Sony has the rights to Spider-Man. And so the Xbox version is the same game, minus the playable Spider-Man character.
So confirmed, PS greater than Xbox. Sorry, guys, the debate settled.
Because of Spider-Man? Oh, come on.
I don't know. I mean, it is unfortunate though, because I feel like I thought we were past the time period of exclusivity, right? Like of real meaningful platform exclusivity. But what's interesting to me is more and more, I'm kind of thinking that Microsoft, I feel like there was sort of a truce that Microsoft observed and PlayStation just proceeded to completely ignore. Because I feel like 4 or 5 months ago, there were quite a lot of news articles about how there aren't going to be too many Xbox exclusives, this is really a pan platform. And now all of a sudden, there's just one example of the litany of PlayStation only content and titles that are confirmed for the PS5, right? We have this. We have obviously Horizon Dawn. That's a big deal, right? We have actually just the rumor broke today that Final Fantasy VII Remake 2, it was a leak. It likely will be a timed PlayStation exclusive. I mean, I could keep going with these things, but basically, it does seem like there's a quiet massing of exclusive content on the PS side. And right now, on the Xbox side, you have Master Chief and Halo. And granted, that's pretty cool, but that's also not even a true Xbox exclusive because of the PC compatibility. So it is sort of this weird moment where I feel like one party is continuing to pursue exclusive content and the other major platform provider sort of isn't. I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. I don't follow the console release slate too closely, but it does sort of seem interesting here.
Do you think that either side will eventually win out? Do you think that one has more winning strategy when it comes to that?
I truly believe that this is a prisoner's dilemma, right? I think you'd be better off if both sides just basically agreed not to do anything exclusive at all, right? Mm-hmm. But certainly
for our listeners and our audience, William, could you explain what the prisoner's dilemma is? Come on, give us the professor explanation.
The prisoner's dilemma is okay, guys, here we go. No, the prisoner's dilemma is basically it's an instance of a puzzle usually presented where two people have two choices. It's usually framed as prisoners in a prison, and they're going to be interrogated. And basically, if they don't rat the other person out for the crime, then they get a very light punishment. Whereas if they rat the other person out, they get no punishment. Whereas if each party rats the other person out, they get severe punishment. And the problem with this is sort of a priori, you would assume it's better to collude and not rat the other person out, right? You both each stay quiet and get a light punishment. But the problem with this is
you missed the best option of all.
Which is?
Fourth option. The fourth option is neither one of them rats them out and nobody gets a punishment.
Wait, did I not say that?
No.
No, I think I did. You know what, guys? It's really difficult to explain the prisoner's dilemma without a visual aid.
Yeah, so, the grid.
I'm discovering why teachers have whiteboards right here. But basically, the point of the prisoner's dilemma is, regardless of you would really like a priori to agree not to collude and not rat the other person out, but because your incentive is you always get a greater payout if you rat out than don't, it's almost impossible and there's no way to enforce it. And so you always end up in a very bad state, which is both people rat the other person out and they get long prison sentences. And so, it's one of those quirks where, because of how decision trees work, essentially, you end up in a suboptimal outcome. Is that a good way of describing it? I don't know. I'm tired, guys. Tell me that's right.
I think this is good.
Sony receiving exclusive rights to Spider-Man.
Hey, somebody
Bring it
named Army Pathfinder or Armel Pathfinder, which I'm hoping so much is a reference to Pathfinder, the role-playing game, but might also just be a cool last name. Agreed. Thank me for the background, so I'm deeply flattered.
William, get to your point on Spider-Man here.
Oh my God! Sorry, Paul. So the point is, this is kind of a prisoner's dilemma.
Let me worry about chat. You do the smart stuff.
All right. Where I think this is a prisoner's dilemma, where if both parties would just agree not to waste any money on exclusive content and characters, they'd all get roughly the same number of sales and end up in the right place. But as soon as there is a strong incentive to own for exclusive content on one side and not on the other, there's a real heavy incentive for customers choosing between consoles to go to the one with the exclusive content. And so this is a case where they'd probably rather not do it. They'd rather disarm. But in fact, because they're always better off having the exclusives, you end up in the suboptimal territory where the publishers pay for exclusives and it doesn't really do anything because everybody has something exclusive. So users aren't really forced to choose.
It's definitely suboptimal for the consumer. No question.
Yeah, it's definitely suboptimal for the consumer. That's also very true.
Lindsay, what were you going to say?
I'm just going to say, so Sony is the rat and Microsoft is the one who stays silent.
I think William's point is that regardless of how he ties it to Prisoner's Dilemma here, that we're ending up in a suboptimal outcome as a consequence of sort of weird incentives here, where there are incentives to drive exclusivities, like taking it's not like the Microsoft game they developed separately without Spider-Man. They literally just put a piece of code, like they had to actually go in and make an effort to cut him out of that game, that version of the game. Like, to me, that seems suboptimal to begin with, going and doing extra development work to cut out a playable character only to try and sell more consoles. Again, the incentives seem... my view is long-term, these are misaligned incentives, and I think this is why long-term Microsoft wins, in the sense that open platforms or more open platforms in general will attract a larger audience. And I like what Microsoft's doing with the PC. I like what they're doing with Game Pass. I like what they're doing. Like, to me, trying to stick it to Xbox and saying we're going to keep Spider-Man so people will buy a PlayStation to play Spider-Man, look, maybe right in the short term. I just think long term, eventually that comes back to bite you. I mean, C-Doggy says, to be honest, Spider-Man's one of the most popular superheroes and, in my opinion, the most fun of them to play. Web slinging is a mechanic that sells copies. The question is, actually, will people not buy Avengers on Xbox because of that?
Well, I mean, some people won't, right? Because look at it this way. Imagine Spider-Man was in both versions. You would have a set number of customers buying each, right? Now you have Spider-Man only in one version, so people who can choose, some people will, there'll be some group in the Xbox that still buys it, some group in the PlayStation that still buys it, and people in the middle who could have chosen both will choose the PlayStation version. So PlayStation gets extra sales. And as an addition, there will be some people in Xbox who will not want to buy an incomplete game, and that is not a small segment of gamers, right? There's probably I would guess about 10% of the audience who would have purchased had it been feature complete that won't, because they don't like the notion of missing a character, particularly. And this is really important. Like, Spider-Man is like basically the most popular Marvel character. This isn't like they're cutting out, I don't know, who's a random Marvel character to cut out that goes deep in the lore. This isn't like they're cutting out like Havoc, right? Is that good enough? Is that good enough for an obscure comics reference? I don't know. You tell me, guys. It's not cutting out Havoc. Like, this is like the marquee guy. I mean, there is a reason Spider-Man above everyone else were the Marvel rights Fox picked up when they were cherry picking the Marvel properties. Like, Spider-Man is the strongest hero.
Yeah, but Cam says Hawkeye. I'm like, I was going to say Hawkeye too. I'm like, no one would miss him.
No, Hawkeye's in the movies. He's in like all the movies.
Barely. Like, fires a couple of arrows and then he's gone. Look, at the end of the day, the question is this the competitive, like, if this is the only way Sony competes, in other words, their hardware's inferior, their online offerings inferior, but they force people to buy their console by, picking characters where they own rights to out of other games and plucking exclusives. I think in a single console cycle, you may win, but long term, I think it creates an environment internally at Sony where you're not focused on building the very best product. You're
It
focused
is
on.
it is true. You'd rather that you were choosing between Xbox and PlayStation because Xbox has the better Game Pass offering, or because Sony has the better DVD playing functionality. Not that that's relevant anymore, but at one point it was in the console wars. You'd rather it was additional features, not excluded features.
Hold on, let's get caught up here on. Cam says this is why Lindsay is involved, talking about your prisoner's dilemma. Martin says close enough, William.
Everyone.
Cam says interesting, no idea how we got here, but right on, William. Army Pathfinder says, I supported the development of the Army esports program. Major General Muth is my boy. He is awesome. He's one of the greatest people.
Major General Muth on this podcast.
I have ever met. One of the most impressive people I have ever met.
A true inspiration.
William in the Army.
Xbox's companionship with PC is a huge plus. I agree. I actually think this is why Microsoft wins long term. I think even though PC is only, 27% or 29% of the market, whatever it is, that's where all the hardcore gamers are. That's where all the passion is. And so long term, I think Microsoft realizes that and is playing to that Hawkeye irrelevant character. If Xbox releases its games on PC, what reason does anyone have to buy an Xbox? You'd buy a PlayStation for exclusives and PC for everything else. I mean, Martin, my simple view is, and I'm curious what you guys think, but my simple view is if you can afford the PC, chances are, and you're a PC gamer, like chances are you may have a console like to play when friends come over, but it's not your primary gaming device. I think where Xbox fits in the market, if you can play everything on Xbox that you can play on PC, and you can play everything on PC that you can play on Xbox, is if you can't afford the $2,000 or $3,000 gaming PC, here's a very standard commoditized piece of hardware where they've really optimized the games to run well on it, and for $500, you have a gaming device that's as good as a PC that's maybe $1,000 or $1,500. And so it's a way to get people into the market playing the games at a very low price. To me, that's where, it's a budget PC. That's where consoles play.
Yeah. I mean, it's an aside, but I do sometimes, even if I have I have a pretty good gaming PC, I will sometimes prefer to play certain types of games on a console, even if it's available on both console and PC. A good example of that is action adventure games like Tomb Raider. I don't know if anybody feels the same way, but there's something about, there's certain types of experiences for me that are just better TV experiences. They tend to be the more casual single player focused games that aren't too difficult. And yes, I know I can just hook my PC in via HDMI or something, but at the end of the day, it's weird. I do sort of feel like sometimes I still go back to console for certain types of what I would say are the more I'd call them the fast food games, like the sort of fast casual games. I don't know, just an aside. It's kind of interesting.
C-Doggy says, to be fair to Hawkeye, uber agile bowman with explosive arrows sounds very fun to play. I mean, I kind of agree. I was a Hanzo main for a while. And to that point, Cam says Hawkeye should go play Overwatch. C-Doggy says, most of my friends moved from Xbox to PC when they could afford it. Yeah, that's the natural progression that I see in the market, right? I think if there is mobility in tiers of gaming, until you can afford a $2,000 or $3,000 PC gaming is not available to you, right? It's not a great experience. And so an Xbox, if Microsoft can really deliver on Xbox being able to play all these PC games and at good frame rates and completely interoperable and very, very connected to the Windows ecosystem, I think they're going to have a winner, right? People will see it for what it is, which is a $500 gaming PC that punches way above its weight.
Just seeing that the data does support all of this. So of people, I'm looking at ComScore's State of Gaming report again. I referenced it a couple weeks ago, but they have a breakdown of who plays what between. Did you see it already?
No.
Okay, so it's PC, mobile, and console, and 36% of people who say that they're gamers use all three, and 20% say PC and mobile, as compared to 14% saying console and mobile, and 6% saying console only.
Wow.
So
That's a low number for console only, don't you find?
it's because console and mobile is high. I'm not exactly sure.
Yeah.
It's 14%.
It's almost the opposite. Who are the people who have consoles but don't install a free game on their phone? Yeah. Paul, it's Paul. That's Paul.
That's true.
I don't think I've ever installed a game on my phone ever.
You would be in this 4% category of PC and console, by far the lowest.
And you know when you install Windows for the first time and it does the 1909 update or whatever the latest update is, it always installs Candy Crush by default and some other nonsense mobile game. That's the first thing I do. Uninstall. I don't even want this thing anywhere near my computer. I don't want this code anywhere near my baby.
That's Paul in a nutshell, guys. He gets a new PC and the first thing he does is destroy Candy Crush.
Yeah. And it's not just the first thing; it's priority number one.
Before drivers get installed.
Yeah, where is it? I'm going it. It's not in the games directory. Where are they hiding it?
Right.
Pathfinder says, I feel like the crossplay with Xbox and PC is super important, especially with Halo. Yeah, I mean, crossplay right now is almost a given. Everyone has to do it to have a large enough, interesting player base. Yeah. The problem is
Prisoner's Dilemma thing again. Everyone has to do it.
The problem with crossplay is it creates a whole other host of problems. I mean, I've been playing some Call of Duty multiplayer, not Warzone, just Call of Duty multiplayer in the evenings, and I can see it shows you in your lobby how many people are on console and how many are on PC. And when I see a lobby full of console players, I'm like, yes, this is gonna be fun. Just jump or move sideways quickly, and they can't track. But then the developers, what they do is they put in all this garbage in terms of aim assist, and then those console players aren't really gaming anymore. The console's playing for them. So there's good and bad to crossplay, but I get why everyone's doing it. Martin says PlayStation has that many quality exclusives. As long as they keep the strategy up, they will always have a strong spot in the market. Closed ecosystems, though, long term historically don't fare that well.
Yeah, it is true. I do wonder though, I've often wondered if there's not a positioning which is the second console. Nintendo has carved this out very well for a while. And they're essentially, the way they do it is an exclusive heavy strategy. If you think about it, and granted, they do other things to expand that market. They're also the lower cost console, the family friendly console. But I do think there's interesting positioning for basically a console that all it has is a couple really good must-play games, but for 20% of gamers, that's enough. It's mandatory. For me, it just doesn't matter. I hate a lot of, actually that's not true, I love the Switch, but I've hated a lot of my Nintendo systems historically. I don't use them for very much. That being said, I 100% buy them because there's no way I'm missing a Zelda game. There's no way I'm missing a Mario game.
Yeah, but they've carved out a nice niche too in terms of hardware innovation, right? The hardware is different.
Yeah.
PlayStation, Xbox, they're both boxes with PC hardware in them. I mean, a Switch is completely different. Allows you to play very differently.
No. They do a lot more, right? They're family friendly. They're typically lower cost. They now emphasize portability in the Switch. That was interesting. They're really trying to basically position themselves as far away from the mainline console war as they can, which I absolutely love from a business perspective. It's ultra strategic. But fundamentally, I think a lot of the reason why people buy Nintendo consoles every cycle has nothing to do with any of those choices. It has to do with, I want to play the new Zelda, I want to play the new Mario. And that speaks to the power of, by the way, if you're not seeing it, that speaks to the power of this title exclusivity to lock in, at least a base level of success. And so I actually really do agree with Martin's point here. I think as long as PlayStation continues to do this and lock up a few must-play titles, they really insulate themselves from the worst case, which is Dreamcast syndrome, right?
No, but there is another worst case. right? When your entire business model relies on exclusives, which is it only takes one cycle for that year's Spider-Man game to suck. And then you're like, well, I'm not buying this again.
Yeah, but my
You know what I
counterpoint
mean?
to that is get enough exclusives. I mean, again, that's why Nintendo's strategy works well here, because they make the exclusive games, so they control the quality. So they can essentially guarantee that this year's like the important years for exclusives, like a console launch year, it's going to hit, right? They can start the development way in advance. They can make sure it leverages their most beloved characters. They can put Shigeru Miyamoto on the project. Everybody knows, doesn't matter how much he really developed, if you put Shigeru Miyamoto on the project, it does well, you know? So, yeah.
C Doggy says, I'm not sure the Xbox console needs to succeed. Monetization through games and subscriptions is the market mover, and subscriptions like Game Pass can retain gamers as well as hardware. I agree completely, which is, I think Microsoft's innovation now is happening on the Game Pass side more than just about anything else. And there's, in my mind, long-term sustainable advantage. Xbox will exist as a low-cost option, but if I can play Halo on my $150 Chromebook, why both? I mean, now you're making the case more for Stadia than just about anything else.
Yeah. Oh, you got to be careful with that logic. You're gonna.
I welcome you to play Halo on your Chromebook with something like Stadia, but you will not have a fun time. And we're going to get to Stadia today. It's on the list of topics.
Oh, good.
Pathfinder, have you tried Rogue Company? Yes, but I hate third-person shooters. I don't. To me, they're broken. Because if you can peek peek around corners, what's the point? What's the point?
Not to totally derail the conversation, but is that the only reason why you hate third-person shooters? Is it literally just the freedom of view and the fact that there's not view occlusion?
I can stare at a brick wall, yet see everything happening around the corner of that wall, and just peek and shoot the guy who can't see me, by the way, because I'm standing behind a brick wall. You're telling me this is fair and competitive?
Paul, I mean, it's interesting because it shows how bad I am at shooters that I've never really noticed this as a problem. No, I hear your point. I completely hear your point. Can I ask you a question? Would this be fixable? In other words, like, why don't I just do a third-person shooter where my view auto occludes? Right.
And some have tried that. Some have tried that.
Yeah.
And I applaud them for that. But Rogue Company is not one of them.
Yeah.
And I think Fortnite, I don't know, I haven't played Fortnite in so long. I think they did. I think they might have, but Fortnite had that problem in the beginning too. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but
I don't think Fortnite does any view occlusion, but maybe I'm wrong.
Martin says, exactly, that's the only reason I own a Switch and the only reason I own a PlayStation for Spider-Man, God of War, Uncharted. Yeah, Martin, it works. You're the exclusives guy. Cam says, just bought Game Pass for my PC. Value is unreal. Yeah, the value is crazy. Game
Pass is the best service in the market today for gamers. Agreed. I truly believe. And by the way, this is the power of the bundling. So like Microsoft has nailed it because it's not just consumers who love it. The publishers love it too. It's a ton of incremental tail revenue for good games that otherwise it's the equivalent. You know what it is? It's the equivalent of the PlayStation greatest hits label for the modern generation. Like it's that beloved program given a digital reincarnation.
What's frustrating to me is Stadia came out and said, we're the future of gaming, and all the journalists wrote Stadia's Netflix for gaming, which showed to me that the journalists don't understand, anything about what's going on because it's not Netflix for gaming. Game Pass really is Netflix for gaming, right? You pay $10 a month, you get access to all these games. The rumor is they're like what they call now Gold, like Xbox Live Gold or whatever.
Yep.
All that's going to get consumed by Game Pass. It's just going to be one subscription, Game Pass, access to all the games, streaming of all the games, et cetera, et cetera. So, and I like that. Simple.
I do too, yeah.
One price, access to everything.
Will that way forever? Or do you think it's going to, what happened with Netflix is going to happen?
I think you're going to get price creep over time. $10 becomes $12, becomes $14. But I think even with like Netflix, there comes a point where you're like, okay, I think we're priced correctly. We have to, if we want to keep growing, we have to figure out how to monetize in different ways. And even, I mean, Netflix has hit that plateau too.
Yeah,
you can only add so many users. You can only increase prices so much. At some point, Netflix is going to have to figure out how to create more dollars from the same viewer base.
And I know how, guys. Tiger King 2. That's it. I'll pay for that. That's all I need.
You would pay money for that.
You know, I am very
good
at being
Lindsay.
upsold. I'm very good at being upsold. What would happen is they would let me watch the first 30 minutes of it, and then it would be like $1, and I'd be like, well, it's just $1. Click, and then every 5 minutes, and that, I mean, honestly, that's sort of. I actually think it's going to be some sort of metered viewing mechanic with a binge watch price that's going to get you there, but I don't know.
If you're asking for predictions, I think what ends up happening is more. I think you have to get to shoppable video. That's the only.
Oh, actually, you're right.
Monetization path for.
They are so staunchly against advertisements.
Well, because people will revolt, right? If you start putting ads, because then there's no point to the streaming services.
You are right. It does have to be shoppable. That's the only way it actually really moves ahead. Yeah. You have to be getting non-content based revenues, essentially.
That's it. Xbox's streaming option is honestly pretty decent. Stadia was a lot buggier. Yes.
A lot buggier.
I don't think I've met anyone who had a good experience with Stadia. Massive controversy in Destiny 2. Can emote use a sword to peek every corner? Yeah. I mean, this is what you get with third-person shooters. Like, I just don't get it. I never understood it.
Again, guys, you could be playing Heroes of the Storm where none of these problems have ever existed.
Fortnite moves fast enough now. I think it plays better because of that. Yeah, I'm curious if they fixed the peaking problem though. If cloud gaming becomes a large market, Amazon plus Sony, strong exclusives plus AWS. Lindsay, William.
I mean, it's not an option.
It's not. Yeah, it's not like a bad. It's sort of like I read that as in like, you know what would be a really great chocolate bar, like what's saying like caramel and marshmallow. Like they're two very good things, right? Like I like them both. Bars. Just bear with me. You know what would make a good candy? Caramel plus marshmallow. Like they're two very good things. I like them separately. Together, they're probably pretty good too. Doesn't feel like my ultimate combination of snacks, right? This is not the peanut butter or chocolate. It could make sense. It could work. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, it's not a bad mix at all. Some people will be big fans. It wouldn't be the first confection I would start producing in my bakery.
What is the better mix, William?
If I could mash up any two companies, I mean, Tencent and anyone, how about that? But if you told me Tencent is busy, right? Tencent can't come. I would probably say Valve plus Microsoft.
Valve plus Microsoft. Why?
Can you well, first of all, because I didn't have a lot of time to think about it too deeply. But second of all, because quite seriously, first of all, there's already heavy overlap on the leading edge PC user base. Can you imagine what they would do with peripheral innovation? Like they might actually make something like what did they call it? The old Microsoft camera thing. They might be able to do a Kinect thing that works with Valve's innovation in VR. I think there's a ton of great first-party exclusives that could really benefit from a console release. And I think Microsoft's ability and resources could really expand Valve's IP library. Plus, you have all of Steam to marry into Game Pass, which would just be like the creme de la creme.
Interesting.
But again, I mean, don't hold me to it because literally you asked me to choose and there's a lot of different, yeah.
No, there's a good choices. Cam, though, says William's limited to 3 of these comparisons a live stream. You heard it here. I don't make the rules.
That's
I don't
true.
make the rules.
Cam, how many have I made? Am I at my 3 already? I think I'm at my 3.
I think you're at 2. You're good. You're good.
You have one more. Choose wisely.
Lindsay will keep score here. No, let's move on. Let's talk about something else. What do you guys want to talk about? You want to talk about Super League gaming? You want to talk about Overwatch League? You want to talk what greatest hit do we want to talk about? Ninja. We said we were going to talk about Stadia. Let's talk about Stadia.
Let's talk about Stadia. Let's do Stadia. Stadia is a good one.
Stadia is a good one. And it's not even an article about Stadia, but it sort of is. And this is from happygamer.com. The article is Halo Infinite. Oh no, sorry, this is the wrong.
That's not it.
It's this one. This is from gamesindustry.biz. The headline is Ubisoft signs multi-year partnership with cloud gaming provider Parsec. Publisher used Parsec to allow over 1,000 journalists to remotely play Assassin's Creed Valhalla and Watch Dogs Legion. And it's a multi-year deal, supposedly. Now this, interesting announcement that Ubisoft has essentially partnered with a cloud gaming provider. Normally, probably we wouldn't even talk about it. The reason it stood out for me, and I think it should stand out for anyone who sees this, is if you guys remember at the Google Stadia announcement, like one of the biggest launch partners was Ubisoft, right? That all the Assassin's Creed games were going to be on Stadia, and it was all about Stadia, and this was all exclusive, and now, not even, I don't know how long it's been, maybe a year, 6 months, 7 months, 8 months.
2019 it launched.
Sorry, Lindsay?
November 2019 it launched, I believe.
Okay, so like we're what, like 7 months, 8 months? 9 months, yeah.
Sure, Paul.
I can do math.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, Ubisoft getting into bed with a different cloud gaming provider altogether. What does this mean for Stadia?
Well, this just stings because it shows you Ubisoft is long cloud gaming. They like it. They think it's great. They're not happy with Google as a partner. So they went to somebody else, right? I mean, it's pretty simple. This is directly, they were not happy with the cloud gaming provider they chose. And they were so unhappy, even though it was 8-9 months in, whatever you want to call it, even though it was Google, they backed out that quickly and that fast. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, that's embarrassing.
Yeah. Also, by the way, full credit to Parsec. What a power move announcing your partnership with Ubisoft via a blog, like your own blog, like no press release, no, just like popping up a blog post and being like, yep, you come to my house if you want to read about my business. That's pretty cool.
But this is like the total difference too, in terms of like announcement style. Like the whole Stadia thing was future of gaming, staged lightning bolts, like
I know.
all the whole big production. This, I mean, maybe I think Parsec did raise some venture money, but it's like didn't even want to spend the money on the press release.
I know.
We're not even going to bother. The $500 not even worth it.
Yep, those wide fees add up when you're.
I don't know if you don't already think that Stadia's shutdown is imminent, and when I say imminent, within the next couple of years, I don't know how you survive this.
Well, it is true because of all of the types of games there are. Like the Ubisoft sort of open world genre was, I think, the most amenable to cloud gaming, right?
Yeah.
Because it had a big need for high-end rendering to do the vast worlds, but the gameplay systems were relatively simple and basic enough that you probably, they weren't Twitch aiming games, right? You probably could have gotten away with some lag and latency. So yeah, this is a huge coup. I mean, first of all, huge congrats to these Parsec guys. You deserve it. I mean, you beat Google for a business deal that never happens. So like literally pour the champagne and open a second bottle. But second of all, yeah, it does hurt because you have to feel like as good as Parsec had to have been to win this deal, and they must have been very good. It's really a tale of Google not performing. And I think at this point it's safe to write Stadia off completely. Like it's not going to be a thing.
You know what my theory is, William? The less press a cloud gaming service gets, the more likely it is to succeed.
Well, that's great for my cloud gaming service, Paul.
The two that I think have the highest chance of success are GeForce Now.
Yep,
and
that's
Shadow,
a big one.
And Shadow.
Yeah.
And I have a funny feeling Shadow gets acquired. Like I think
Shadow will get acquired.
I think Microsoft buys the Shadow when they go really all in on Game Pass.
I agree. I agree. I agree. I think that's really interesting. And no, it is true. It is funny because like it's also the sort of thing where I think successful cloud gaming providers almost don't want to be known as cloud gaming providers, right? Because I think there's now a little bit of stigma with cloud gaming, like it's inferior. It's I do think it's a sort of thing is like, look, they'd rather be invisible, right? The best cloud gaming providers, you don't even notice they're there because they're literally a pipe, right? So I think there's some truth to it. And there's not a lot of value in them emphasizing their services in a B2C marketplace because the games already do that for them for people who need these cloud gaming optionality.
Well, and I'm going to sound like a broken record on this, but Google's lack of foresight when it comes to the type of internet people actually have access to was alarmingly low. I think it's better to be a gamer flying underneath the radar until the broadband infrastructure is there to actually have a successful cloud gaming business.
Yeah.
Until then, you are going to have a relatively small portion of wealthy clientele who can pay for higher speeds. I think it was really foolish to call it the future of gaming when the future of broadband hasn't even been worked out yet.
If you have gigabit Ethernet at home, you better have a good gaming PC at home because there's really no other reason to have gigabit Ethernet.
Maybe, yeah, maybe.
We beat that dead horse. The horse is dead. I mean, there's no more beating it up. Let's talk about. Actually, this is kind of related because it's also about press releases, and I'm going to say I called this one. So before I show the article, I just want to preface this because on last week's live stream, there was a list of companies and dates that they would be announcing their latest quarterly earnings. And one of the things I want to do on the podcast is maybe bring like a regular guest, a Wall Street banker or an analyst or something to talk about the quarterly earnings of public gaming companies, right? And Super League Gaming, who I'm a big fan of, was on that list, right, of when they'd be releasing their earnings, and it's coming up. Yeah. And so last week during the live stream, I felt like saying it, guys, and I didn't say it, and I'm so stupid because now it seems like I'm making it up. Yeah. But I swear, one of the things I wanted to say was, guys, I guarantee because Super League earnings report is coming up, they're going to release some, like, we're going to see a Super League story this week about how great they are. And lo and behold, this story came across today or yesterday, I guess. Super League crosses 1 billion video view mark. In addition to seeing exciting growth in its viewing audience, Super League Gaming is enjoying success during COVID-19 by offering its patented technology within a fully remote virtual production studio to a large variety of partners. So here's the Super League model. Our earnings are bad. We're not making any money. We're barely making any revenue because I heard the rumor that quarterly revenue won't even be like a couple $100,000 this year. So let's preempt our quarterly earnings report with good PR, a good press release. And they seem to have done this, I looked, consistently, like the last 4 or 5 earnings cycles. Am I crazy here, William?
No, I mean, keep going, Paul. I'm just enjoying this. I'm really like, I want you to keep going. You're not done with the conclusion.
No, I'm just curious. I'm not playing dumb. Is this a legitimate strategy here?
Yeah, it's always great. Look, if you know bad news is coming, it's like the compliment sandwich, right? So it works for companies just like for people. So before you have to say the bad thing, you say a good thing. And then after you say the bad thing, you say another good thing. And it kind of like hides the bad thing that you want to do. So that's the compliment sandwich. That's why we do it in real life, and companies do it too. Is that my third, Cam? Just the compliment sandwich.
I think you think you may have exhausted all of your.
Honestly, these are some pretty good metaphors, like for full credit, you know.
The compliment sandwich I'll let pass because I think it was good.
That one worked. The caramel marshmallow one, we still have to discuss that.
No, but I like your analogy, William. The question is, why does no one? I don't see as many other companies using this to such tremendous effect.
Yeah,
it's just because we don't have a lot of public gaming companies to beat up on.
I think you see this a lot with sophisticated public companies. And to be very fair for Super League, they do a very good job of managing the public side of their business. Like, I think they are very sophisticated when it comes to IR and things. And, you know, and that's not to say they're not sophisticated in other things, but I think they're very good at that piece. And you see that being employed very well here. And by the way, this is a pretty impressive benchmark, like 1 billion views and up 700% over 2019. Like, those numbers are nice. You know, I'd be proud of those numbers, right? Yeah, it's just, it just is a bit unfortunate that you would expect there to be more than just viewership at this stage. I mean, you know, to give you guys an example, Baby Shark, which I think we all know, that kids video, you know, just, you know, many instances of the Baby Shark video have been viewed more than 1 billion times on. So, you know, although aggregate, it's a very impressive metric. 1 billion anything is good, particularly for this type of content. It's actually not so uncommon for successful things to get to 1 billion views, right?
It's also a little bit vague as a milestone.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking. Like, over what period? I mean, are we talking? Does it say when they started counting?
It's basically over 2 years. Basically over. Oh, is it year to date?
Okay,
that's pretty darn good.
I thought it was over 2 years, which is far less impressive than year to date.
It's just I don't understand, because Super League's whole premise was that they're a tournament organizer, right?
Yeah. What videos are these? That's a good question. I'm going to look, like, what videos are these?
That's the other part that was
highlight films and stuff. Like, they'll do like clips of the day type things.
Oh, have you watched them, Lindsay? Like Super League TV?
Yeah, I watched them. William, you're right. They do have a very good public facing like they invest a lot in their public facing strategy.
Yeah.
So they're one of the names that gets thrown around a lot when you talk about esports. So I took the time to look at them, and I was particularly interested in their SEC filings, because their SEC filings were actually worse than the report for the nonprofit I look at, as in they had less cash on hand than the nonprofit that I'm at. So that's like hugely concerning, because nonprofits don't make a lot of money.
But this is part of their model as well, right? I think every quarter they basically have to raise money because they're burning through that cash every quarter.
Very quickly, yeah. Yeah, and I heard an impassioned defense of that they're just building this audience, and that building the audience is much more of a priority right now than cash spending or than making revenue. And I mean, it was an impassioned defense by someone who was not even part of Super League Gaming, which I found interesting as well. But at what point do you expect to monetize off of this supposed audience building strategy and, you know, public facing? Everybody knows who you are. Everybody has some idea of what you do. At what point do you start turning that into actual money?
It's a great question, Lindsay, but I'll tell you the biggest problem, why you're never going to get that answer, and you're never going to have closure there. You're never going to get the result you're looking for, is because, and I watched it today, there was Ann Hand, who's the CEO at Super League, did an interview with one of the business networks. It wasn't CNBC, I don't think, but, you know, it was one of the business networks, NBC Business or whatever. And fundamentally, I think the journalists at a lot of the mainstream media, and even the analysts, like the Wall Street analysts, the people who cover stocks for those business networks for a living, don't understand gaming, like, at all. Like, have so little understanding of the space. And there was one point in the interview where the interviewer, who's the analyst, you know, for the network, says,
if only there was a book to help them.
He asks Anne, and this was like to me, this was the moment that explained everything to me. At one point in the interview, he sits there and he asks her, do you think all the people watching video gaming on your network, right, on Super League TV, means that people will stop buying and playing games, right? Because they'll choose to watch gaming instead. I swear to God, I will send you the video. Right.
Well, that went through editing too, which is even more difficult.
Well, that's one of those questions that hurts.
Yeah.
But you're going, like, clearly this person, like, not only doesn't understand the industry, has no, like, really doesn't understand the dynamics, right? Because in fact, it's the total opposite. People watching games is what sells games.
That would be like asking it would be like asking the Great British Bake Off. Like, do you think with all these people watching you cook, they'll need to stop eating? Like, it's one of those
that's fundamentally what he asked. He asked, are you therefore like enemies of the publisher? Do you have good relationships with the publishers as a consequence? And answered the question very well, obviously, right? The reality
she's very good.
Is
she's
they
very
don't.
Good.
But this is why Super League gets a pass.
Yep.
Right? This is not a good company. This is not that well-run company. No one has any clue, at least people in the know, and I would consider myself someone in the know, has any clue what their strategy is. It was tournament organizing one day, now it's video views the next day. It's like it's nothing that makes sense or is cohesive in any way. But the market doesn't have, like, the analysts, the people who set the price targets, who decide if a company is performing well from a public markets perspective or not, who make those judgments for the investors, don't have the sophistication to be critical enough here, right? Like if you fundamentally don't understand the relationship between streaming platform and publisher, you have no way to evaluate the value of a business like Super League. Zero.
Yeah.
This reminds me of do either one of you watch The Office?
I do watch The Office, yes. Or I did. It's not still going on, is it? Have I missed that they brought it back? Okay, good. Okay, just checking.
There's this very specific scene in which Michael's introducing something and he just asks like 50 questions in a row. And he says, what is it? Could it be life-changing? How will we know? Can you tell me more? Like that's Super League gaming to me.
Yeah.
It's like very excited. Like, what now?
Yeah.
But like there's no one ever answers any of the questions.
Because the people asking the questions don't know what questions to ask. It's not that they're stupid people, right? They're smart analysts who cover a bunch of other stocks and probably in entertainment or tech, and they're very good at what they do. But this is just too new, and they don't know what questions to ask yet.
If only an extremely shiny paper just put out explaining the basics of the industry.
Whoa.
And the book.
Lindsay, until you have a background, you're not allowed.
Until you have a background. Lindsay's going to show up next week with her paper on the background.
It's literally just going to be the Lindsay Poss background.
Martin says, was wondering why I never heard of Stadia anywhere but this podcast. It's true, we do talk about it a lot. It isn't available in Australia, and now we know it probably never will. I'm sorry, Martin, you will probably never get Stadia. And it's probably for the best.
Which is sort of ironic if you actually think about what Stadia is. No, I thought that was funny.
Why? Because they're far away?
Because it's a cloud service. It should be like the one thing you can move relatively seamlessly across countries. Like
there are no clouds in Australia,
I know.
William.
No.
What do we want to rag on now?
Do you guys want to see what I've been playing this week?
Oh yeah, what have you been playing this week?
No. We have a whole section about this now at the end of the live stream. William, do you think this show was professional 2 episodes ago? What's going on now?
What do you mean? I don't know. Lindsay wanted to talk about the game she was playing, and I was super excited.
She's the guest. She's not running the show.
Not yet.
Paul, until you start taking full advantage of that soundboard, when you disappeared, Lindsay and I were colluding.
Yeah.
So
because I don't use the soundboard enough. I actually don't even know if you guys would hear the soundboard. Otherwise, I probably would. I would use it a lot more. Like when William tells a joke. I don't know if you guys can.
Yeah.
Actually, we do hear that, and it sounds great.
But most of the time, when William tells a joke, it'll be this.
That was that cloud one.
Or there you go.
Honestly.
Let's talk about BlizzCon, guys.
Let's do BlizzCon.
So, as we know, this is from Esports. BlizzCon 2020 was canceled, but now Blizzard has announced that they're going to host a virtual BlizzCon event in 2021. So basically just 2 months after they canceled this year's BlizzCon, they're effectively, I won't say canceling next year's BlizzCon, but it will not be the same sort of big event that BlizzCon historically always has been. Am I reading too much into this, William, to say this is not good?
I think it's not good, but not for the reason that you think it is, right? I think you're going to say it's because Blizzard doesn't have stuff to announce this year, so they got a free pass, and now they're worried if they're going to have stuff to announce next year, so they're it could be bad. I think it's bad for an entirely different reason, though, which is if you look at how BlizzCon used to be run, and a lot of people don't know this, it was truly run by the Blizzard employees, right? It was literally like the entire company would basically stop work for a month, and they did everything. They planned the booths, they staffed the booths, they set up for the show. I mean, I'm exaggerating a little bit, right? But fundamentally, like original BlizzCon was literally the guys who made the games excited, and the girls, and sorry, I should be gender neutral and everything, but the people who made the games being extremely excited to throw a party for the fans for the games they made, right? That's fundamentally what it was. And the Blizzard employees wanted to be involved in it because it was their moment to celebrate with the people that were enjoying their properties. And I think that really speaks to kind of the mentality of the old Blizzard, the Mike Mornheim Blizzard, which is this passion, this fandom, this sort of cult of Blizzard, right? And BlizzCon, I remember thinking when I learned about this, I was like, that makes no sense. You are deleting a month out of the year, essentially, to throw a trade convention. Like, there's people who will do this for you. It's got to be more efficient. It's got to be better planned. Is it really worth taking all your developers off the line to do meet and greet? But they didn't, because it was, like I said, it was a celebration of what they were. And it was something that the makers and the fans wanted to be present for together. This, to me, is sort of another confirmation of that old culture going away, right? It's just not making sense anymore. It was convenient. It burdened. We need the time to make the games, to hit our numbers, right? And I think that's really why this is bad, because the truth is, for a while, BlizzCon hasn't been what it was. But in my mind, this shift to it's the nail in the coffin for this fan to developer interaction that I think was very sacred and one of the big reasons that made Blizzard stand out.
What was the day BlizzCon died, William, in your mind? Do you remember? Because I know that day.
What a leading question!
And you know the day. You know the day BlizzCon died.
BlizzCon's not dead. It could come back. It's just it's not where it is. I want to be. But tell me what you think. The moment
the day
BlizzCon.
real. No, I want to see if we're real. Simpatico here. Like, is this the day BlizzCon died?
It was, I don't even know, Paul. It was 2017 and Diablo cell phone stuff. Was that what you're going to say?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, okay.
when J. Allen Brack and those other guys got on stage, right, announced Diablo Immortal to a bunch of boos and people going, why do I want this? You're a PC gaming company. And J. Allen Brack looking all these gamers in the face, so completely out of touch, saying, you guys don't have phones? You don't remember that moment where to the audience he goes, who has phones? You guys don't have phones? Like, to me, this was the pure Blizzard and J. Allen Brack and all the leadership there just completely out of touch. Have lost all touch to their end user. Don't know what they want anymore. Like to me, this was the death of BlizzCon, because what's the point? If you have no love for your end user, no relationship with your end user, you're not in their heads, they're not in your heads. Like, there's nothing holding. Well, that's the bigger thing. I'm basically agreeing with you, because I think
you're sort of saying my point better, which is there was this moment where the reality was the people who were making the games were the same people playing them, right? Like, they were making things they wanted, and it was a moment where everybody and people were excited to do it, not because they were scared to encounter the fans and get criticized, but it was a moment to have their creations praised. And look, I'm going to be full credit. If I ran Blizzard, I would not have staffed BlizzCon the way they did. I do think it drained corporate resources that needed to go into other things. But I respect why, and I respect this is the example of the engineer in the startup answers the customer complaints. Right. This is in my mind, BlizzCon is the positive version of that. Right. It's the feedback loop you need,
Cam said, oh God, I remember the soundboard stream kept hitting William with the crickets. Yeah, well, he deserved them. Love that William knew exactly your thoughts. The synergy is awesome.
I did get both right, by the way.
You did get both right.
Yeah.
And Cam, yeah, you remember that moment. Anyone who's a PC gamer of any kind, because every PC gamer grew up with a love of Blizzard. Like you can't call yourself a PC gamer and not have love for Blizzard in your heart, right? At some point your life was touched by a Blizzard game. And like that totally tone deaf moment of you guys don't have phones. Like it was just, I don't know. I don't think you recover from that. I don't think companies can recover from that.
Well, no.
Which is an interesting business question, right? It makes for a great. I would love to do the Blizzard Harvard business case, William.
Are you being sarcastic? Because I wrote the Blizzard Harvard Business School case.
No, but not the one about how great Heroes of the Storm is.
Okay, yeah. not that one.
Not why HOTS is the best game ever.
That is true. That one is still in peer review. That's they're looking for the peer. They just need the one.
More on the downfall of Blizzard, which you don't think is happening, but I'm seeing it.
Well, I truly believe this is there are some challenges, right? But I truly believe in a hit-driven industry, you're as good as your last hit. Watch Diablo 4 launch, and I'll see what you say then. Because yes, it could be a bad game. Am I nervous right now based on some things I'm seeing out of Blizzard? Yes. Do I still know a lot of wonderful, smart, passionate people work there? Yes. Wait for it. If Diablo 4 is a good game, it's going to be I'm telling you right, it's going to be a totally different story. They're going to say they're back on the bandwagon. I can't stop playing it. It's so innovative. I feel like they've gone back to their roots, when fundamentally what it is it's tough to make games. And I do think this is a big part of it. It's tough to make games. Sometimes you get it right. Sometimes you get it wrong. Blizzard has gotten a little more wrong than right in sequence recently. That might be due to some internal decisions and strategy. It might just be due to the nature of the industry. Do I think it's due to both a little? Yes, I do. I
don't think you cancel your premier convention and move it online even, right? The place where people celebrate you, where you celebrate your accomplishments and your games, where this was a love fest. BlizzCon was a real love fest. You don't cancel that unless either something's wrong or you've lost faith in your own product.
There are only 2 conventions I've ever gone to that I've truly, actually that's not true, but there are 2 conventions that truly have stood above the rest for me historically. They were BotCon for Transformers, believe it or not, and it was Activision, and it was BlizzCon. And the reason is the same, is the people who went to those conventions were just so into it. It was awesome. Like, it's the same way, just like everyone at BlizzCon had that passion for Blizzard games and everybody working there was sharing that passion. When you went to BotCon, loving Transformers that much that you go to a convention for it is very specific. It was totally awesome because everybody's on the same wavelength. And there's a joy about that when people sync over a shared interest. Even though Transformers is not that obscure, I'd say it's slightly more obscure shared interest.
I did not even know BotCon existed. This is the first I've ever heard.
And it's amazing. I would go back, and I'm not even a big Transformers guy, and I would go back. It's that fun.
Cam says, has the passion died or is management that bad? Why are those 2 different things? One follows from the other, I think.
I don't know. I just want Diablo 4.
It's with both.
I'm cautiously optimistic.
You're not getting Diablo 4 before Diablo Immortal. I can guarantee you that.
But that's the bigger thing. Is apparently I'm not getting Diablo 4 in 2021. We know that now.
But no, and trust me, with what's going on with COD Mobile, right? COD Mobile's going through the roof. Is driving most of the profits for Activision Blizzard today. That's the reality.
Yep, it is.
You don't think Bobby Kotick is going, okay, guys, give me Diablo Immortal?
Okay, but time out, Paul. Let me play devil's advocate. Why isn't that being a great CEO? Like, just seriously. Like, I'm being honest. Like, you've told me one product line is working very well, probably lower cost to develop for. Like, isn't it the opposite? Wouldn't he be a complete idiot if he was like, you know what, let's pursue this really risky PC venture thing where we're not so sure, you know?
My criticism of Bobby Kotick has always been not his quarter to quarter performance, which I applaud, right? Because the business,
very good.
If you look at how it's performed, how it's beat Wall Street expectations very consistently, he has built a massively profitable machine. Okay, my criticism of Bobby Kotick has always been, what's the cost of that, right? Because sometimes that kind of growth and success can be totally organic, can be in line with the heart and soul and vision and mission of the business. And sometimes that success can be artificial, where it's forced, where it's at odds with the heart and soul of the business. And I think that's the case here, where what he has done very successfully is ripped out the heart and soul of the business, okay, turned it into a profit machine that for the next 3, 4, 5, 6, however many quarters we can argue, right, will beat expectations, will turn out profit, is going to keep killing, right? COD mobile and whatever garbage they keep putting out, right? At some point, I think he's mortgaged the long-term sustainability of that company, the long-term prospects of Blizzard. Blizzard will no longer ever make another WoW. Blizzard will no longer ever make another StarCraft.
I'm going to defend Bobby here. I'm going to defend Bobby because I would say the opposite. I would say, how is more money in the bank today mortgaging the long-term future? How is moving to mobile, which is arguably, and again, I'm not saying I believe this, I'm just going to make the argument, which could arguably the platform of the future, be mortgaging the future, right? And then I'll even push a little bit further. I'll say, like, look, isn't this the definition of innovation, right? Like, isn't it great that they're taking a game like Diablo that has a stodgy PC only limited user base form factor and finding a way to bring the world of Sanctuary and beloved gameplay to a much broader, like, isn't that like the democratization of gaming? I mean, I'm just saying, like, it's not, I don't really agree with these points, but to be very fair to Bobby Kotick, his job as CEO is to allocate resources, right? He is very good at allocating resources to the highest yields. I don't think you can argue with that at all. Now, I think your criticism is fair. Are you really investing enough in the future? Are you getting these yields by reaping the brand equity that's been built up? Fair, and I would argue probably true, but I also think it's hard. I don't think that makes him a bad manager. I don't think it does, you know.
But it does if you're an unsophisticated Wall Street analyst, Bobby walks on water, right? Which is why there's been no pressure to remove the guy.
Yep.
I think if you truly understand the industry and what creates value over time and entertainment in general, not just gaming, is not how to milk more dollars from existing IP forever. That will only get you so far. At some point, growth has to come from real innovation. New games, new IP, new experiences, new. And I see no new from them. I see a lot of squeezing more out of what's there and probably doing it better than anyone else. But the reality is, again, and my come back to my point, the company that created Diablo, that created Warcraft, that created StarCraft, right? Like these created
Blackthorn. Let's not forget Blackthorn.
Like I could argue this. They have 3 Mickey Mouses on their hands.
They
right?
do.
Not one.
They have some really good ones.
And this is a company capable of making 10 more, right? With the people they have there, with the passion they have there. And I think Bobby has ripped that out because he's told those same people who are thinking about the next Mickey Mouse, no, take the Mickey Mouse we've got and figure out how to, put a hat on him and sell the hat.
Yeah, figure out how to put it on mobile. Yeah, well, it's interesting. But I reserve, and I really mean this, in hit-driven industries, you judge by the latest hit. Just you wait, my friend. Just you wait. My bigger question on all this is, how is Overwatch 2 taking so long? That's the other thing that I wonder about on this. How? Like how? I don't know. Anyway.
I just don't see much direction there other than how do we maximize, how do we get the blood from the stones we've got?
Well, I think it's time for us to do the moment that we've all been waiting for.
Hang on.
No? Okay, I really want to talk about it.
Cam says, I'm just surprised we don't hear more from sour dev teams. Well, we did. I don't know if you saw the article that came out yesterday, 2 days ago.
Yesterday.
Where it was a whole bunch of people at Activision Blizzard all saying we're horribly paid and horribly treated. So there's a lot of people complaining internally. And Riot, I think, as sort of a proactive measure, basically gave their entire dev team a month off. I don't know if you saw that, guys. But they're giving them a month vacation. Riot is. Because they don't want to be seen as Activision Blizzard.
Yeah.
Different consumers. Yeah. Look, I think what's that, Lindsay?
That's the point I was going to make, is this type of squeezing is happening in all of the entertainment industry. And it's because there's definitely a huge subsection of consumers that are, I guess, they're like me. They're with reality television. You make 10 different versions of Love and Hip Hop, I'm going to watch 10 different versions of Love and Hip Hop. I am that supposedly unsophisticated consumer. Now, Paul, I think you make a good point in saying that we don't know how long that'll last, but to be fair, that unsophistication could really have a strong hold, which would really make you upset in the long term. But that's why mobile games are so popular too.
You want to know how long it lasts? I will tell you how long it lasts. It will last until the day Bobby Kotick leaves Activision Blizzard. That I'm telling you right now, I'm calling it here. The day he leaves, that quarter Activision Blizzard misses their earnings. Okay? So misses their earnings expectations.
Yep.
Because he's left behind the carcass. He's left nothing on it, right? Like he knows he has picked every piece of meat off of that bone. And all that's left is the carcass. But I'm telling you, that's the day we see the real downfall. And he may stick around for 10 more years. Who knows? But he's
been there since like 1991, I think. Hasn't he been there for like a really long time?
He has.
Yeah. So to be fair, Paul, again, I mean, I know that it's easy to put. To be fair, for all your long-termism criticism and stuff, the guy's hung out for 30 years and we haven't hit this point. So is he really looting it? I mean, I'm not saying I have the greatest affection in the world for Bobby Kotick. I'm just making a point. The guy has run that business for 30 years and it is still doing well. And by the way, the stock is a lot higher now than 30 years ago.
Yes, but I also think that inflection point happened in 2017. The "you guys all have phones" was the moment they started looting the corpse.
Paul, maybe we should make t-shirts. I really think we need to start a t-shirt, like a clothing line business. And I think "you guys don't have phones" needs to be like, needs
to be on there.
Yeah. And it can be for our podcast. Don't listen to the Business of Esports. What? You guys don't have phones? No, that wasn't as funny. You want to do the crickets for that? I thought that was funny.
No, that was a good one. I liked it.
I go straight to the sad trombone. We don't even do the crickets. Can we talk about Halo first, or do you want to get to our section?
What's the Halo? Let's do Halo. Let's do Halo
because I don't want to miss it this week. This is from happygamer.com. Halo Infinite takes a strong first step.
Great website.
Towards esports by announcing free-to-play multiplayer. The article goes on to say, here's news that can cut a room in half. Halo Infinite's multiplayer aspect will be free for everyone to play on launch. If you're eager to see some serious Halo esports in the near future, this is the best possible news that you can get. For others, not so much.
Huge.
William, I'm teeing this up for you. Why is free-to-play important here?
Oh my God, this is like the entire thesis of my book. I mean, no, that's not true.
No,
the book's a lot more than that.
You don't.
Yeah, it's way. But look, the point is, if you're trying to do esports and sports, you want as many people to play them as possible. because it's a viewership driver. I mean, for so many reasons where to begin, but because it's the network effects that drive the games, right? So fixed pricing for your product is a handbrake on the network effects. It cuts your viewers, it cuts your player base for matchmaking, it cuts your potential content creators who are going to write about it. It cuts the rewards of getting skilled in the game because there's fewer people to appreciate it, blah, 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 blah. And so this is really smart. This shows Halo is trying to make itself seriously as an esport, and going free to play is a mandatory price of entry. Now, I would also say it's not far enough. This is wimping out. I really believe that this is wimping out. Just make the game free to play. Just do it.
Oh, like, all of it. The single player campaign too.
All of it. All of it. This is because how many users do you convert to the multiplayer from the single player? If you think of Halo's user base historically, hasn't it heavily come from the single player campaign? Like, don't handbrake. Like, yes, this is less of a handbrake. That's good. Don't put any handbrake on this. Have confidence that your title can monetize as an esport using esport style tools like microtransactions and media, and give the title away to monetize accordingly. Don't try. One of the big lessons of the Book of Esports is do not try to blend business models. When you try to get your cake on a $60 retail box copy or download, and then also try to tail in kind of a teaser free to play, it doesn't work. You're not firmly in one camp or the other. And I'd be fine if they said this is going to be a rich single player experience, $60, everyone's going to buy it, we'll monetize that way. I'd be fine if they were also like hardcore esport, but don't try to do both, guys, because it's hard enough to succeed in this market today. It's tough enough. And like you're hamstringing both models, right? You are, and it's just true because now people who just want to play a bit of Halo because they missed the pistol can just go free to play. So that's a $60 box copy sale you lose. And plenty of people who maybe would have discovered the esports from a rich free to play single player campaign never come in. You short circuit both funnels. You know, can you get around this? Yeah, you probably can, right? But I'm a big believer of blended business models do not perform.
I mean, William, is the implication here? First of all, I'm curious because you're implying that there's not a lot of overlap, or there is a lot of overlap between people who play single player campaigns and then also go play the multiplayer. But Cam Boyd here brings up, as I was about to say it, and he's read my mind, yes. Like Call of Duty did something similar, and I would argue it has sort of worked, right? Where you still had to, you bought the game, you could play the single player campaign and you could play multiplayer when you bought it. But if you want to play Warzone, that was free to play. Like if you wanted to play the BR, that was free to play.
I hear you. And I think you said it very well. Didn't that sort of work? Yes, it sort of worked. Could it have been an even bigger success if it had been firmly in one camp or the other? Yes, I truly believe that. Listen, I think so strongly, because particularly when you win the network effect game, this is short-termist thinking, Paul. This is your critique of Bobby Kotick here, right? These guys are so desperate. They don't want to give up that huge infusion of 40 million, 50 million, or whatever it is they're going to do. It's probably way more than that. It's probably like 100 million, 300 million in box copy sales in that first quarter. They don't want to give that up. But the reality is, yes, that short-term pain, yes, that hurts. But true success in this industry is something like a Fortnite that lasts for many, is something like a League of Legends, is something like a CSGO. It lasts for pretty much forever, right? Or it lasts for far more than that one quarter of pain you took. And it's so hard to achieve that. Don't put any barriers in your way. I truly believe that. Don't even give one reason for somebody not to sample or try your game if you're aiming to be a definitive sport in a competitive, crowded market where switching costs are already high.
I mean, Lindsay, I'm curious what you think. Do you think there's a big overlap between people who play the single player campaign and the multiplayer campaign, like, and multiplayer, like competitively, I guess? Like, do you think a lot of people would play both? Because I actually think they don't.
That's the only potential issue I see, and unfortunately, the research in me is saying that there's not enough data to show which audiences are falling where. So William very well could be right, and it could be that we're moving towards this free-to-play model anyway, and that people are wanting to explore more within-game options, like playing single-player, multiplayer, or it could be that you have people who are dedicated Halo fans who want to do the single-player campaigns, and then you have people who are more interested in competitive gameplay who will just simply go to the multiplayer one and never cross.
I also just hate this brooking of resources. That's the other thing I hate. Like, okay, great, you put a lot of effort into what I'm sure is a spectacular single player campaign. You're telling me those resources might not have been better spent bulking up the multiplayer with new maps, with more polishing, with building out the my point is it is so hard today to succeed as a single type of game focused on a single demographic. And I see this all the time. Publishers do this thing where they're like, well, if we just flex a little here, we can get this entirely incremental consumer. And my belief 100% is the market is too cutthroat today to win with those types of strategies. Yes, you can do all right? You can end up with a middle of the road success. But you don't hit the home runs. And I believe that a franchise like Halo should be in the market for home runs.
William, are you going so far as to say you don't think games in general should have different game modes?
100%, yes. I truly believe that. I truly believe that.
All in on one game mode. Yep. If you're a BR, be a BR. If you're multiplayer, be multiplayer arena style. If you're
completely well said. Remember, this is why I got mad at Valorant when they were introducing deathmatch. Know what you are and do the one thing well. And the best example of this is Riot Games. Riot Games with League of Legends. They had other game modes. They had Winter Scar or whatever in ARAM. They ripped all that stuff out to focus on the one mode that they wanted to be. And the game grew because of it. Can you imagine how scary? At one point, they had like 15% of their user base played that Winter Scar map. And they took it out because they knew that they wanted to be the most cutthroat competitive game they could. And it was too hard to balance champions across two different game types. So they made a call. They standardized the player base. And you know what? It worked. So I go back to and that's my favorite type of business lesson when it's hard, when it involves real and certain sacrifice for strategic vision. And that is why Riot Games is like one of my, even though I'm not a big League fan guy, I respect them infinitely because as a game maker, I would have been terrified to turn away 15% of my users. And you know what? They had conviction and it worked.
Cam says the future is microtransactions? ?
Mm-hmm. No, the future is shoppable games, Cam.
Yeah. No, but that is the implication of what you're saying too, right? Everything should go free to play. Everything should stay in its lane.
Yeah, which is some of this stuff is obvious, guys. Like, which is the better price for something? $0 or a number above zero? Like, yes, all of this stuff should be free to play, 100%.
That's what I do think that they're fighting with an inevitable somewhat.
Yeah.
Cam says this was a bit old. Merch. Cam, we're putting you in charge of Business of Esports merch. He says, sell the Book of Esports background as a flag. I love it. You're hired.
Pretty dope. Yeah, I would fly that flag.
I wish Destiny would do that. Balancing PvE plus PvP is pure misery. Can never please both. Yeah, that's true. It's an interesting thought. Like Call of Duty has gone so far away from that, especially like there are so many game modes in Call of Duty, you can't even keep track.
No, and it's this belief that like you get an incremental user is, well, there are some people who just like deathmatch, but the reality is you're just splitting the player base. You're diluting the network effects, right? This is like exactly what you do not want to do. You want everybody playing as similar of an experience all together as much as possible, right?
So speaking of playing, that brings us finally to our newest and
do you have music for it, Paul? Do you have music from the soundboard, please?
I don't know what music this deserves, but at least some applause.
Better luck next week.
What are we playing this week? Lindsay, you wanted to do this half an hour ago. So you are up.
Oh, I hope you guys are ready.
It better not be Candy Crush, or you're off the show.
Crush, come on! I play dumber games than that. Look what I found.
Is that a black and white Game Boy?
It's
a Game Boy Color.
Game Boy Color. I've been playing Super Mario World 2, but also there's more. Tetris, football, Lock and Chase, and Mrs. Pac-Man.
Here's the question. Did you buy this?
No.
Or did you find it?
Okay, so there's a story associated with this. This one is actually my sister's.
Okay, so you stole it.
No, she didn't want to. It's mine. I had mine, which happened to get run over by a car, but it still worked, but it had an enormous skid mark down the back, and it was kind of hard to slide games in and out, but I still had it. And during a garage sale a couple of years ago, my father sold it. So I had to let that go, I guess. But I just found my sister's, so I took this one back since she didn't want it.
By the way, they don't build tech like they used to. That like the Game Boys got run over, and it was like, oh, it's just a little hard to get the cartridge in. But
other than that, it was fine.
And of all the games you have, which one's the best, or the one you're playing
Mario
most?
World 2, for sure.
Super Mario World 2 was a pretty great game.
Yeah, I'm also excited to play Tetris again. I'm very skilled at Tetris.
Have
Tetris
you tried,
99, man.
Have you tried Tetris Effect in VR though?
No, but I would be very interested in that.
Tetris Effect is it's the newest, I think, iteration of the game. But they have a VR version. It's basically, I think, what Tetris would be like if you were playing Tetris on drugs. Like on I'm pretty sure
Lindsay's like way ahead of you. Why would I need VR?
It's very out there. The music and the colors and the.
One thing I did forget though is that there used to not be backlighting. So I forgot that I used to have like a little lamp that plugged in so I could see it in the dark.
Yeah, it was an attachment.
It was a greater time. It was a greater time.
Completely forgot about that. So it has been a little bit difficult.
They literally, that was not considered a core product feature. I love it. I love it.
That's a good one. I like it. Mm-hmm. William, what have you been playing this week?
Well, Ghost of Tsushima. I mean, how could I not play that? Yeah, yeah. Paul, I work a lot. I don't get to finish games very quickly. I could be playing Ghost of Tsushima for like another 2 to 3 weeks at least. Plus, gotta get in my Heroes of the Storm games. And I think I mentioned on podcast, I did beat Carrion, the Devolver game, which I don't think it's as good. People were saying it was great. The reviews were very positive. I think it's an easy skip. What
game is this?
Carrion. It's like a new Metroidvania where you're a monster breaking out of like a facility. I don't know.
Side scroller?
Side scroller, like 2D classic. Like it's Devolver's kind of a lo-fi 8-bit studio. Like I just come out and say no. I didn't like it. Like not at all. So
interesting.
Mm-hmm. But very good reviews, and I admire the whole reverse horror approach. I think it's innovative, but I think it was a step back for the Metroidvania formula, not forward. What about you, Paul? I know what you've been playing. I
watched some people playing Ghost of Tsushima on Twitch.
Yeah.
Put me to sleep. Like if you need to sleep, that's the game to play.
Oh, okay.
Put you right to sleep. There's like wind blowing and grass and music, like very delicate music, and every so often you shoot an arrow at someone, but then that's it. That's all the excitement you get for the next 15 minutes. Yeah. And I like you
that.
You ride a horse through fields, you know?
Mm-hmm. I like that, Paul. That's my type of game. It's called pacing.
I will say, not this week, but last week, Magic's tried to get me to play Tarkov. Escape from Tarkov, which I don't get it. Like I don't get the fascination.
I don't get it either.
It's this hardcore military sim, like, and everyone plays terrified because if you die, you lose all your stuff. Like it's just gone.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, so like that didn't really like. I played an hour of that, and I'm like, guys, I'm good. I don't really love this. This week, those guys have been playing Fall Guys. Everyone seems to be playing Fall Guys. Have you seen this? Yeah, there you go. Cam
yeah.
says Fall Guys.
Cam says that, yeah.
Anything where you have to put a controller in my hand, I'm allergic to. So like, I have not been playing Fall Guys. Literally all I played this week, I think, was a little bit of Call of Duty before the end of the season, before season 4 ended. I played a little bit on the weekend.
You're breaking my heart here, Paul.
I need, you know what I need? I need the clicking heads. I need my fix, and then once I get that fix, I can move on. You know what I mean?
Why don't you play Rainbow Six Siege with me? I really like Siege, like a lot. I'll
tell you why I don't like Siege. Mm-hmm. It's too slow. Okay.
Yeah.
And I find too much of the success in Rainbow Six depends on map knowledge and game knowledge, not on aim. You can take someone with mediocre aim, but with tremendous map knowledge, knows to peek this exact corner, knows to put a hole in this wall, knows to put their whatever kit here. Like, you give someone a ton of game knowledge and map knowledge and average like aim, and you can be hugely successful in that game. I like the more pure aim dependent the game is, the more I love it. If that makes sense.
I do.
QuakeCon's going on, right? Like, Quake Champions was a great game. I don't know why it never took off, but it was a great game.
Well, that's a really interesting question. Why did Quake Champions not hit it big? Because I thought that was going to be huge, right?
Because it's hard. Because for most people, their aim sucks, and that game puts it right in your face if your aim sucks, right? There's no corner you can sit and camp and kill people if your aim's no good. You know what I mean? You'll get owned every time. Cam says, I play on keyboard and mouse. Come on. We should do a Business of Esports Fall Guys at some round or something.
It's actually a really good idea. To launch our Twitch stream, we should do it. We should do the inaugural Twitch. That'd be great.
You said last week it's too hard to balance a game with 8 new characters a year. Look at Siege. I don't know. Do they introduce a lot of new characters or no?
There's just like 4 characters a quarter, I think. 16 a new year.
My issue's not the characters.
Which is part of why I love Rainbow Six Siege, and I think it's a very well-designed game. And I would just... Even the reason why you hate it, Paul, is the reason why it's a good game. I really believe that.
How many rounds do you play where you're literally just watching a sliver of a corner?
I mean, none. Because my rounds all run straight in and die. It's amazing. No, but we could go into this a lot, but I'm convinced that Rainbow Six Siege is like very well designed from a business standpoint, like very well designed. This is not just because like I have competing and like is good at the game. Like, it genuinely is. I think this explains, by the way, the trajectory of Rainbow Six Siege, where it did not launch successfully and it really grew out of it. It's the business decisions are so good at locking in the player base. Like the thing you said about, it's all map knowledge and not aiming. When I hear that is aiming is a portable skill that transfers to every shooter, doesn't lock you in. Map knowledge, extremely specific. You lose that when you go something else. That was music to my ears. I was like, great business decision, game design and business working together.
Yeah, but not fun for a player. Like, I love the fact, like, my aim's good, right? I put myself in the top 1% of aiming, right?
Okay. Oh, okay.
But that means I can go play CS and I'm good at CS. I can go play Quake. I'm good at Quake. I can go play Apex. I'm good at Apex. I can go play Hyperscape. I'm good at Hyperscape. I can go play COD. I'm good at COD, right? Like, yeah. Then I go to Rainbow Six and I'm like, what do I do? Like, I'm supposed to peek. If I'm not peeking this one corner, this one angle. You're
not good because it requires a different type of skill, right?
Because it requires such a game specific skill,
which is great. It locks you into the game. It's a switching cost. I love it.
As a player, the question I ask myself, right? If I'm going to put 100 hours into a game over its lifetime, right? Why would I put 100 hours into a game where the skill set's not portable? I'd rather go play 100 hours more of CS because I know it will make me a better gamer. 100 hours of Rainbow Six.
That point does not stand. That's like saying, why would I put 100 hours into soccer when the soccer skills don't go to football, baseball, basketball?
Hold on. Here's the analogy.
Yeah.
You could go play 100 hours of soccer and become great at only soccer, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Or you could go lift weights for 100 hours and be great at every other sport as a consequence because you're stronger.
Okay, I think I'm way better at metaphors, but also
No, but the weightlifting is a more generic, portable tool.
yeah, but the point is we're supposed to be heading towards sports where you don't need to get good at everything. You just need to be good at the one category killer. Switching costs are very powerful in these industries. You need to raise them.
I'm not disagreeing on the business side, William, and why you as a team owner like that your players are very much locked in. Right?
Yep,
Your
I love it.
players
Yep.
are unlikely to put 5,000 hours into Rainbow Six and then go play Valorant. Right? But
yes, yeah.
Because everything they've learned in Rainbow Six doesn't translate. But
also
from a casual player standpoint, and I consider myself anyone who's not a professional, not being paid to play, casual player, right? I would rather put my time into building a generic skill set that is better, that makes me a better gamer overall. So that when the latest game comes out, I jump on and I'm pretty good.
We should pick this up another time because there's like, it's difficult for me to like, I know the point you're making and I want to argue with it, but at the same time, it's like just this weird concept. Like, are you like the liberal arts major of gaming? Like you're just kind of building generally applicable skills and you're going to float back and forth. And I'm arguing for like going into banking and learning Excel, right? Because maybe it doesn't port too well, but like, I understand your point. And like, yes, it's sort of true, but I don't think many people think this way. I think many people think about getting good at a game they love, right? And they want lots of hooks, right? I don't know.
I don't think that's the reality of today's gamer, because the reality is it's not like today you can play CS or StarCraft and that's about all your choices, right? The reality is there's a new shooter that comes out every 6 months. And as a gamer, I like being good at every game that comes out. You know what I mean? I like being competitive in every game. Apex came out, I'm competitive. Hyperscape came out, we were winning games day one. We were dominating day one. It's because that actual tracking, that skill of tracking a target is massively transferable, right? If you can do it in Apex, you can do it in Hyperscape.
I mean, to me, what I hear is like, why do you need new games at all? Like, if you can do it in one game, you can do it in all of them. You know, I don't know. I don't know.
But I think the interesting downside of my view today, what I'm saying is hiding a darker truth, which is I actually hate the state of games today. The fact that what I'm playing this week is like COD, and all I did was play a few hours over the weekend. You know what I mean? To me, that says something, that gaming is not that exciting right now. You know what I mean? There's nothing that's come out that's been like, oh my God, I got to put 1,000 hours into this.
Yeah, it is true.
And everyone I know, like the Magics of the world, are all floating, you know? They'll play a little bit of Tarkov. They'll play a little bit of Apex. They'll play a little COD. They'll play a little bit of...
That's very dangerous. That's dangerous for the industry too. You don't want tourism because the developers don't recoup their costs, and the players aren't happy either, right? Because players do want to park, I believe. Anyway.
Cam says, not a variety player friendly game, maybe more of a primary game focus. Yeah, that's what Rainbow Six is. I agree. So you play a game to be a better gamer. Yes. In fact, Martin, in some ways you're so right. One of the reasons why I still play shooters is because in my mind, I don't want to get old and slow. And so I always want to be like the day where I'm not competitive with a shooter is a very sad day for me. Like it's almost like I'm just trying to stave off the gamer Alzheimer's.
Well, I don't think that's how they measure that, Paul. But like,
because soccer is fun. Yeah. Martin says the teamwork translates and peeking corners safely. It's good that there are game specific skills too. That's why I get it. I'm not bashing the game. I think it's a great game. It's just not something I would pour hours into because of the nature of the game.
I don't know. I actually really love it. I love repelling. I have so much fun with it. Anyway.
Cam says maybe everything shouldn't be the same. Yeah, there's not a ton of innovation. That's the reality.
It's kind of what I feel, Cam. I like the Rainbow Six Siege is different. I like it a lot, actually. I like it a lot. Anyway.
This is from the guy who plays HOTS. Okay, so we want game reviews from William Collis.
Yeah, I'm gonna start.
Buy his book, but his game reviews I might stay away from.
It's not true. I have excellent taste.
Guys, that wraps up this week. We had too much fun. We went so long here. Lindsay, thank you so much as always. Where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter or LinkedIn, and you can read my paper, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Gaming Galaxy.
Where on LinkedIn and Twitter?
At Lindsay Poss. Easy peasy.
Easy peasy. William, congratulations again, my friend.
Thank you, guys. You can only find me at one place, Amazon.com, Book of Esports. Go now.
There's a minimum order quantity of 500 books, just FYI.
Yeah. Amazon may even have raised it to 7 at this point. So
be prepared to be reselling these on the corner in your neighborhood. No, it's a great book. Go make sure you guys go pick it up. Highly recommended. Thank you guys. On that note, thank you for everyone who tuned in. Thank you for everyone, Martin, Cam, all you guys who showed up for the live stream, who show up every week for the live stream. Tell your friends. It's a lot of fun. We want to try and get more people in here because we really do enjoy it. Don't forget the podcast will drop tomorrow. It's a good episode. And we always appreciate the 5-star reviews on the podcast. But we will see you guys next week, same time, same day. Thanks again.
Good night, everyone.
good night.
Mm-hmm.